Hi, what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at reviewing how to solve one- and two-step equations. So just a quick reminder that an equation is when you have two expressions separated by an equal sign. So every single equation that you will ever see is going to have an equal sign in it. If it does not have an equation, or if it does not have an equal sign, it's not an equation, it would be an expression. So we're going to talk about one-step equations first. With a one-step equation, basically what you're doing is you're looking at what order of operation you have between the variable that you're trying to solve for and the number that's on the same side as the variable, and you're going to use the opposite operation to get rid of it. So if we have something like m plus 12 is equal to 10, we have to figure out how to get rid of the plus 12. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 12 from each side. When we do that, in this case, a plus 12 and a minus 12 becomes 0. So those are gone. And then we have the 10 minus 12, which would give us a negative 2. So in this case, m is going to equal negative 2. Now, one thing that you want to start to get into the habit of doing is making sure that you check. We all make mistakes, and so checking is just a quick way to make sure that you solve the equation and came up with the correct answer. So if I check, I'm just going to rewrite my equation. I'm going to plug in what I think my answer is, and I'm just going to make sure that it actually equals the same thing on both sides. Okay, the second one. This time we have negative 2 is equal to g minus 9. So again, we're going to find our variable, and we're going to look at the operation that's between that variable and the number, and then in this case it's subtraction. So to undo subtraction, we're going to use addition. So we're going to go ahead and add 9 to both sides. When we do that, we end up getting that g is equal to 7. And again, we're just going to check it quickly to make sure that we're okay. So I'm going to rewrite my original problem. I'm going to plug in what I think my answer is, and just make sure that I get the same answer on both sides. All right, in the next example, we have negative 7 times y. When they're written next to each other like that, it's implied multiplication. So negative 7 times y, and that's supposed to equal negative 91. So if the operation separating the variable and the number is multiplication, to undo that operation, we're going to do the opposite. In this case, the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're really going to take negative 91 and divide it by negative 7, and when we do that, we end up getting 13. So in this case, y is equal to 13. And again, we're just going to check that negative 7 times 13 does multiply to 91, and if it does, then we can say we found the right answer. All right, division. If we have a divided by 9 is equal to negative 4, to undo division, we're going to use multiplication. So we're going to multiply both sides by 9. Now, what happens here, which will help us in the next section, what happens here is we get 9a divided by 9 is equal to negative 36. Well, 9 divided by 9 is 1, so we really end up getting 1a is equal to negative 36. And again, if we check, negative 36 divided by 9 does give us a negative 4. All right, so the next section we're going to take a look at is fractions, how to deal with equations that have fractions in them. And really what you want to do is get rid of the fractions. Okay? One option is to multiply by what we call the reciprocal, but I'm actually going to show you how to break it up into two steps. So if we have 2/3 times x equals 10, what this really is 2 times x divided by 3. And so if I want to try to get rid of the 3, because I don't like the fraction, so I want to try to get rid of what's making it a fraction, if I want to try to get rid of the 3 on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 3. And so just like we saw up here, what that does is turns 3 divided by 3 into 1, and so now I'm just left with 2x is equal to 30. Then I can go ahead and I can divide both sides by 2 and get that x is going to be 15. So again, to check, 2/3 times 15 should give me 10. Now again, this is going to be a little tricky to multiply out in your head, but if we think about it as 2 times x divided by 3, we have 2 times 15 divided by 3, and 2 times 15 is 30, 30 divided by 3 is going to give us 10. So let's look at one more together. This one we have 4 divided by 9 times w equals negative 8. So again, I'm going to rewrite it as 4 times w divided by 9 equals negative 8. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 9. When I do that, I end up getting that 4w is equal to negative 72. And now I can go ahead and I can multiply negative 72 by 4, and I get a negative 18 as my answer. And again, to check it, I can multiply 4 times negative 18, divide by 9, and see if that gives me a negative 8. Well, right here, negative 18 divided by 9 is going to be a negative 2. And so now I'm left with 4 times negative 2 equals the negative 8. All right, the only difference with the 2 at the bottom is we now have a negative sign in front. So again, I like to rewrite it. When I see negative 6/5 times k, I rewrite it as negative 6 times k divided by 5. And then that's going to be equal to 12. So just to walk you through this one, to get k by itself, we're going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 5. Then we can divide by negative 6, and that should give us a value of k. And just make sure to double check and make sure you have the correct answers. And then same thing for number 8. So go ahead and try 7 and 8, see what you come up with for answers. All right, for the last two, you should end up with k is equal to negative 10 for number 7, and for number 8, m is equal to 18. If you didn't get those, just let me know tomorrow. We can take a look at what you did. All right, for the next section, we're going to take a look at two-step equations. And really, the only thing to keep in mind with the two-step equations is that you want to undo any addition and subtraction before you undo any multiplication or division. So when I was learning how to solve equations, someone started to tell me that if we take a look at this side right here, we have the variable, which is x, and then we have a number that's really, really close to it, which is the 6, and a number that's a little bit farther away. And so if we take a look at the x, the 6 that's right next to it is closer than the 8. And so I kind of think of it as x has a friend and a best friend. The best friend is going to stick by the x all the way until the end, and the friend is going to be the one that you're going to get rid of first. So if we have 6x plus 8, 8 is not as close to the variable. It's not right next to it. It's not attached to it. So that's the one that we're going to get rid of first. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 8 from both sides. And so now I'm just left with the 6x, and that's equal to 42. And now I can just go ahead and divide 42 by 6, and I end up getting 7. Now, it's just as important, if not more important, to check your answers even when you have more steps. So in this case, I'm just going to plug in the 7 because that's what I think my answer is. And then I'll go through and multiply. 6 times 7 is going to be 42. And then 42 plus 8 is going to give me the 50, and so it checks. All right, so go ahead and see if you can try those 3. You've solved equations before. So go ahead and see if you can solve those 3 and come up with the solutions. All right, so just double check your answers, make sure that you came up with the same answers that I did, and then you can go ahead and work through the problems in Math Excel.